Hi, I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. It's getting on towards the middle of January now, and it's that time of year when there's relatively little you could be doing with your bees. But I suppose there's a whole lot of things you could do in terms of learning right now, and that's what I tend to do this time of year, sitting back watching lots of beekeeping YouTube videos. Although I don't watch many different channels, I do learn a lot, and those that I like, I tend to watch again and again and again. I'd say in particular, Ian Stepler's videos, a Canadian beekeeper's blog. I tend to watch some of those things again and again and again, because that really helps me with some of my things like nuke building and building up hives, particularly for that purpose. So I'd say there's some of his videos I've probably watched 10 or 15 times. Just you learn a little bit more each time, and you get a bit of a kick out of it. Actually, as it happens, I was just talking to Ian on the line just a few minutes ago, talking about the Hive Life conference, which again I've missed out on. I would love to go to a conference like that. I think I would learn so much by it. I think I'd feel like a little fish in a pond full of whoppers, but I think it would still be very, very interesting, and an awful lot there to learn by going. If any of you have been to that conference, please tell me a bit about it in the comments below. I would love to learn a bit more about it, and hopefully in one of the near future ones, hopefully I can attend as well. I'd love to see some of the speakers. When I saw some of the folks that were there, some of my favorites obviously Cayman Reynolds, Bob Binney, Ian Stepler. Those are the sort of folks I'd really love to meet in person. I've met Ian, of course, but I've not met Bob or Cayman. But there's a whole load of YouTubers out there, several of whose channels I watch to some degree, but you could, of course, just go on forever and ever watching different channels, and I just don't feel I have the time for it. Sometimes it reminds me of my university days when I was in the scuba diving club, and you really had to be either an absolute fanatic and do everything with the club, or you just weren't in it. And I learned after a year that no, I'm not a fanatic. I'm not fanatical about anything. I spend a heck of a lot of time on bees, and I'm not a fanatic about bees. Although it seems that a lot of my leisure time is spent with bees, all of my business time is spent working on bees. I suppose I just need to keep a little bit of balance in my life, and I'm not fanatical, and so I don't go into all of those details. I don't sort of watch all of the videos I could do, and so a lot of the names I've heard of but never watched yet. I'm sure I can learn a lot more. But if there's things that you think I'd benefit from learning from, please put their names down below. I'm always willing to broaden my horizons there a little bit. So this time of year, typically what I will be doing is looking at the equipment that I've got, making my plans for next year, and what are the sort of things I'm planning to do. Do I have the equipment to do it? Do I have everything I need? Do I need to learn a bit more? Watch a few more videos about how to go about particular tasks. I've been doing been doing the same thing for several years now, but each year I'm doing some extra things. And hopefully I'll be showing a few videos of some of the ways in which I intend to vary some of the ways I'm making nukes this year. So it could be quite interesting, using particularly things like double screen boards, that sort of stuff. Very much depends on the winter that we get this year. Right now it has been as mild a winter as I can remember here in Maine, and so that would be wonderful if it turns into an early spring. And that will give me all sorts of extra time and extra bees to play with whilst building up my supply of nucleus colonies for sale. the way I make my income. But the other ways I'm making my income nowadays is you've seen that I've probably done a few posts on Beekeeping 24/7. And it's basically my friend Amy Nickerson and myself who have started this, it's an online mentoring group, basically, is the long and short of it. We have put together some great beekeeping classes, mostly targeting the beginner beekeeper, but a lot of it goes into what I would have considered my intermediate class as well, because I've done, the classes are roughly 12 hours of videos. But it's a great way of being able to learn. It's like watching YouTube videos, but specifically teaching videos. And you can watch them in this group, as opposed to going to a class, a beekeeping class, that you see it's one and done. You either took it on board or that's it. Maybe you'll refer to your class notes and that sort of thing, but you'll never get that class back again. With this, the class is recorded and you can watch it again and again and again. But in addition to that, it's a community that we've developed, really. It's a group of people who are all learning from Amy and myself. They're getting input from elsewhere, but what they're getting, as opposed to going to multiple groups and multiple YouTube channels, where you can learn all sorts of different ways of keeping bees. The problem for the beginner is knowing how to keep on track for one way that will work for them. And that's really what we focus on. We focus on teaching the way that we are successfully keeping bees here, with providing a solid platform. So from there, you then start taking on board the other techniques. Because so many people start keeping bees and they lose their bees, and most year after year, they lose their bees many times. And most of us have gone through that stage. But what would be so helpful is being able to get your bees through the winter most of the time. And from there, just like I was saying before, if I have a nice spring and I've got lots of bees through the winter, and I can do so much more if I've got the bees and the time to do with them. If your bees survive the winter, you can do so much more than if you have to buy another package of bees to start all over again. So in my view, the best way to get successful results is to have a consistent approach in a method that's shown to work. And to do that, you can't be taking advice from here, there, and everywhere, because many management techniques will work, but if you keep on getting steered one way and then go that way and then you go start that way, you're ending up with results that are not as good as if you'd stayed in one method. And so that's what I recommend, is starting in one method that's known to work, and then develop it. Then start tweaking things and changing things with one or two of your hives as you go along. It's a much, much better way to learn. And by this group, by Amy and I being the mentors for this group, we would guide these people with question and answers for them directly. They can ask us what's going on here. We do even live videos in the hive, and they can ask questions while we're there. And so many people learn best by seeing it and doing it rather than reading about it. And so I think this is working really well for the group that we've had in the last year. Currently, what we're doing is we're expanding that. We're doing a launch this year for the end of this month to bring on board many new members. And to do that, what we've started with is Beekeeping for Me class. Basically, it's a workshop that's going to take place on the 27th and 28th of January. And whilst a lot of you folks, this is way out of what you need. Many of my viewers here on this channel are experienced beekeepers. They've been doing it for eons. You're successful. You don't need Is Beekeeping for Me class. Many folks are still learning, losing bees occasionally, but again, not for you. But for the folks that are struggling to keep their bees alive, struggling to know what to ask and when, this might be something that you want to start with and check out. And also, if you've got friends who are interested in beekeeping, but there's not a local beekeeper giving classes, there isn't some good source of information out there, then put them in touch with the link below. This is a workshop. It's only going to be 2 evenings. One is going to be a recorded class, a short class, which is to give an idea of somebody who's considering keeping bees. Is this the sort of thing they want to get involved with? But it's also a lot of tips for somebody who might be struggling with their bees, and they might find it pretty helpful just as a one-off. But really what we'll also be doing is introducing Beekeeping 24/7 and the ways in which we can help guide them with much more detailed classes, with much more hand-holding through the process of keeping bees, and by Amy and I being their mentors in a virtual sense, but in a very real sense, because we're doing things very live, and we're keeping right on top of it in terms of keeping people informed and of what they should be expecting now, but also answering their questions as they're encountering new problems here, there, and everywhere. And because there's so many people in a like-minded group, we're keeping a relatively focused approach to keeping bees, as opposed to getting input from 20 different sources in terms of how one person keeps bees compared to how another person keeps bees. We're basically keeping it simple and teaching the way we are successful with bees. But this workshop is going to be roughly an hour and 15 minutes long. And if you've got friends that want to start keeping bees, at just a $10 investment for this workshop, and if they are interested in Beekeeping 24/7 as a follow-up, great. We'll talk to them about that too. There'll be, as well as the 1 hour and 15 minute class, there'll also be more information on the second day and a live session where Amy and I are fielding questions. So this will be up for a couple of days for people to watch, and we'll be answering all the questions that people send in to us. And this is going to be inviting people from all over the country. And whilst I'd say that our techniques are very appropriate to people in colder climates like Maine and the northern United States and Canada, we have members right down to Texas, and what we're teaching them, husbandry methods, and much of what we're teaching is still just as applicable down there as it is up here, just the timing is a little different. Not to say that there isn't things that we have to learn about keeping bees elsewhere, but we're a good starting point. So that's what I'm busy preparing at the moment, preparing for this workshop, for the increased members of Beekeeping 24/7 from here on in, and also, of course, preparing for keeping my own bees as well. I've got a lot more to do than just teach beekeeping. I've got a lot of bees to look after as well. I'll have 300 or 400 colonies by mid-May, so that's going to keep me very busy. Also, I've had a lot more outlets for my honey, so I'm hoping this year I produce considerably more honey than I've done in previous years. Reason I don't tend to produce much honey myself is because I split my hives so much. I'm selling bees rather than honey. What I'm hoping to do this year is I'm purchasing some extra bees as well. So I'm building up my bee population this year in addition to that I'm growing myself. And so I'm hoping that by midsummer I have plenty of hives producing honey, in addition to the hives that are recovering from being split and producing all those nukes that I produce in the spring. So watch this space. There's going to be plenty coming on this year. And once again, if you know of anybody that might find this beekeeping workshop helpful, just follow the link below, and we'll see them at in the end of the month. I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. See you next time.